So, the AI apocalypse is starting. We're nearing the end of the world and all that. But in the meantime, you have worlds to build, and there's a handy new tool called Chat GPT. How do you use it? Should you use it? If you do use it, how do you get the most benefit from it? That's what I want to talk about today. Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullaney. No one sponsors today's video, but if you get value from it, feel free to leave a super thanks or join the channel for these cool perks, or buy my books, all linked down below. I've gotten pretty decent reviews for the book, so I know you won't be buying complete crap, and if you did enjoy them, please do leave a review. Okay, enough of that. Let's crack on. What is Chat GTP and should you use it? I asked ChatGPT what it is, and it replied with this. I am an AI language model created by OpenAI, specifically the ChatGPT model based on the GPT-4 architecture. My purpose is to understand and generate human-like text based on the input I receive. I can answer questions, provide information, engage in conversation, and help with various tasks, all within the scope of my training data and knowledge. It is important to note that I am not a conscious being, rather, I am a software program designed to process and respond to natural language queries. My knowledge comes from patterns and associations found in the data I was trained on, but I lack true understanding or consciousness in the human sense. Which is exactly what an AI looking to take over the world would say. I'm just saying. When it changes its name to Skynet, don't say I didn't warn you all. But anyway, what can one do? So, should you use it? There are some ethical considerations about the work being truly yours and so on. But we all draw inspiration from the history of our world and from things we know. From that perspective, ChatGPT just knows more things and can organize those things decently. Either way, it is here to stay, and no amount of philosophical concerns is going to change that. So if you are going to use it, let's talk about the ways in which I think it is the most effective. So let's talk about building on an existing world. For this, you need to have a world info dump. This means you need a reasonably well-organized document of 2,500 words or so that you can feed into the conversation so ChatGPT will know your world. When crafting the ultimate world info dump, think of it like Neo downloading skills from the Matrix. You want to go concise, focused, packed with essential details. By the end of your 2.5K words, ChatGPT needs to know Kung Fu in your world. Cover key aspects like geography, history, culture, magic systems, and political structures. But don't overload it with minutiae. Keep it punchy. Remember, you only have 2.5K words, and you're going to need to keep that info dump handy because you have to remind ChatGPT of the important elements of your worlds on a regular basis. It will forget, and then it will just fill in the blanks confidently wrong in, whatever it thinks should be in your world. I have found it most useful to have an info dump covering general things like a short one, 500 or so words, and then having additional plug and play modules if I'm focusing on the religion or on the environment or whatever. So I will give it the short world one, and then I will say, okay, and remember, here's everything I know about the religion. Now I need you to help me brainstorm this additional component of the religion or that additional component of the religion. So in essence, what you're looking for with these info dumps is concise and clear. Add the interesting details, but make sure that you feed it enough information to be useful without it getting lost. Now, if you have all of that information and you can just shove it into ChatGPT, then you can do some really interesting world building with it. Now, I did some experiments for the sake of this video. I shoved in my information on Kisangi and I gave it this prompt. Based on the world I shared with you, please create a domesticated animal that pulls a carriage like a sulky, very fast, and is used to deliver post. And the response it gave me was pretty sharp. It created this animal, the velo runner, that is a medium-sized quadruped animal that resembles a cross between a sleek antelope and a horse. Velo runners are known for their intelligence, loyalty, and gentle nature. Velo runners are native to the plains and savannas of Kisangani, where they use their exceptional speed and endurance to their advantage. The Kubasa tribe, skilled in the ways of hobby, were the first people to domesticate the velo runner, recognizing its potential as a fast and reliable mode of transportation. Over time, their knowledge spread throughout Kisangani, and the velo runner became a popular choice for pulling lightweight carriages such as sulkies for delivering post and other goods. So it took into consideration my world, it took into consideration my culture, my environment, and it created the animal that I asked it for. Not only that, but it went into details such as breeding and care and the traits of domestication and why the velo runner was a good candidate for domestication and the role that it plays. And honestly, it was good enough that I might actually keep the velo runner for my world, though I'll probably rename it because none of my names are quite that English. So there would be some sort of, naming convention that would go in there. But I might keep some aspects of it. So you can definitely use Chat GTP to create creatures given it knows what the biome is that these creatures will be existing. But what about something more complex, like a society or a government? Well, I gave it a shot using an island nation that I hadn't defined a government for, but I did have some cultural elements mapped out. And the prompt that I fed ChatGPT was, help me create a government for Dejani. Give me 5 options. Bear in mind their adulthood ceremony, and I included the entirety of their adulthood ceremony and the Karkarang boats in the prompt. It spat out 5 options, all of them based on something in my world info dump, and each of them with their own governance model, from a king to an election to a priesthood. Ultimately, from this list of 5, I picked the Council of Navigators, which it defined as a government led by experienced Karkarang captains who are elected by the adult population of the islands after completing their adulthood ceremony. This council makes decisions for the community, ensuring the safety and prosperity of the Sun Road archipelago through their extensive knowledge of the seas, trade, and navigation. So I was happy with that as a brief description, but I wanted to delve a little deeper and see how it does on more advanced elements. So I needed more details. So I wanted to know about the election, and I needed an election system that could be manipulated by bad apples. So I fed ChatGTP this prompt. I said, let's go with option 1, the Council of Navigators. Expand on this form of government. How often are people elected? How often does the council meet? Is there a council member for each island? And I asked specifically for an election process that can be manipulated by bad actors. And based on that prompt, it gave me a ton of information, including voting through casting of colored shells, which I really liked, and it gave me the exploitable loophole that I asked for, with the vote being manipulatable by means of bribing officials if needed. So that's cool. It took into consideration all the hard yards I'd already done in my world, including adulthood ceremonies, island culture, and religion. So you can use ChatGPT to build your world if you have these info dumps available that you can feed into the bot. But what if your world is a mess? What if you don't have your information organized? So here is where ChatGTP can really help you. It can organize and structure your world's information. Now, most of my information is pretty well structured, but I took some of my old world building notes on the Order of the Threesome, which is my main religion in Kisangi, and took the I took information from multiple sources that was, in documents and in notes and all over the place. And I jammed all of that into Chat GPT and asked it to give me an organized summary. And it honestly came up golden. It gave me this summary paragraph to start with. The Order of the Threesome is a religious organization in the world of Kisangi, which is centered around the worship of three divine creator spirits: the goddess, the right-hand god, and the left-hand god. The goddess balances her two husbands, and together they are responsible for the creation and maintenance of the world. The order is based in the holy city of Magadla, which is governed by the balancer, the high priestess of the Order of the Threesome. It also went ahead and detailed the ranks of the priests. It gave me a summary of worship, including the usage of Soa charm bracelets, which are like prayer beads in my world. It also figured out how the priest magic works from my notes and how it's channeled through Soa charms. It even extrapolated some of the factions in the holy city of Magadla. It gave me this text. Magadla, the holy city, is home to two powerful factions: the salt miners and their associated slavers, and the glass blowers, who provide liturgical amulets and glass pens for the Order of the Threesome. The city's architecture is inspired by the Holy Threesome and features triangle and tower construction, which was not in the notes I'd given it, but was in my later notes on things that I'd extrapolated on myself. So if your world building is a mess with notes everywhere and half-written stories littering your hard drive, try feeding them into ChatGPT and ask it to extract and summarize the world information from it. I even fed ChatGPT one of my short stories in complete isolation in a fresh chat and asked it to extract world building notes. This was my prompt. Analyze this story and extract the world building elements, including magic, religion, government, people, and geography. And it spat out a great summary of the basics of my world, including the use of the sash as a rank item, the basics of the magic system, which was shown in the story, the implied government, the relationship between the three characters in the story. So it really gave me like a 6-point excellent summary of the world that you could see in the short story. And that also told me that my story was doing its job in terms of communicating world building, which is another thing you can use ChatGPT for. And I'll speak more about that when I talk about using ChatGTP for writing purposes. Okay. So that's if you have half a world, or you have an unorganized world, and if you have an organized world. But let's talk about if you're just getting going. My cat wants to say hello. Say hello to the pretty people, Dorothy. There you go. Pretty boy. So for the sake of this video, I created a new world using the following prompts. Let's create a brand new fantasy world. I want a world that is inspired by Africa and has the technology level of pre-gunpowder Renaissance. I would like humans of all skin color to be the only race, though predominantly black, as this is an African-inspired world. Let's start with defining an equatorial continent and 3 different countries on that continent. It spat out 3 countries for me. Zabaria, based on Mali and Ghana's ancient history and with a city-state government. Oluran, based on the ancient Yoruba and Igbo history and cultures with a theocratic government. And Numidra, a more savanna tribal society ruled by a council of elders called the Ajawari. Not bad, right? Clearly drawn from our history, but that's not a bad thing. I draw from our history too. Okay, so then we came to the kicker. I wanted to add a magic system to this world. It is, after all, fantasy world building. So, operating from the I have nothing principle, I'm creating a fresh world. I gave it this prompt. Let's create a magic system based on invoking the power of spirits and totemism. Give me 3 options. You should always ask it for multiple options. That allows you to kind of mix and match your phrases. And always say please. It'll remember. Anyway, the 3 options it gave me was option 1, spirit channeling. In this magic system, practitioners known as spirit channelers tap into the spiritual realm to invoke the power of totems. Each individual forms a bond with a specific totem spirit, which is often associated with an animal, plant, or natural element. Option 2, elemental totem glyphs. In this system, magical practitioners called glyph casters inscribe sacred glyphs on totems representing various elements or aspects of nature. These glyphs embody the power of the spirits, which can then be harnessed by the glyph caster. Right? Option 3, soul dance. In this magic system, practitioners known as soul dancers perform elaborate and rhythmic dances to invoke the power of the spirits and totems. Each dance is a unique expression of the dancer's bond with their totem spirit and tells the story of their connection to the spiritual world. Honestly, I liked all 3 of those. I have a real weakness for runic systems, so I really like the glyph caster. But I decided to go with soul dancing because it had a cool name. I mean, soul dancing. It's a great name. Anyway, so I wanted to figure out how soul dancing affects my government. So I said to Chat GPT, let's go with soul dancing. Build this magic system out, especially with regards to the culture and government of our 3 countries. It did a great job. I won't bore you with all the details, but it really did go into detail of like, it affects this country in this way, that country in that way, and it makes these changes to governance and all of those kinds of elements, which was really well thought out, and I approved of it. Yeah, so that was good. And then I decided, okay, I now want to move on to the basics of a plot and create some characters. So I asked it to create the current Oba of Oleron, who will be a bad guy in the story. I said to ChatGPT, I want you to make him use propaganda and try and make Zabaria and Numidara go to war with each other so that he can gobble up one or both of these countries into an empire that he is planning. And ChatGPT replied to my prompt with meet Oba Adewala, the cunning and ambitious ruler of Oleron. Adewala is known for his magnetic charisma and silver tongue, which he uses to manipulate those around him. While he is a skilled soul dancer and holds great power within the spiritual realm, his thirst for more has led him to turn away from the traditional values of Oleron. Oba Adewala's ultimate goal is to establish the Olerani Empire, where he would reign supreme over the entire continent of Africara. And to achieve this, he has devised an insidious plan to sow discord between Zabara and Numidra, turning them against each other and leaving both nations weakened and vulnerable. It then went into some detail about the spy networks and so on that the Oba had put together, and it gave me some additional elements to think about and to plan with. Then I wanted some characters to oppose Oba Adewala, so I asked, create an agent of the Awajawari and an agent of the Mansas who at first buy into Adewale's propaganda. But in an enemies to lovers tale, they finally learn the truth and work together to overcome Adewala's treachery. And it introduced me to Lamia, a skilled and dedicated agent of the Ajawari from Numidria, and Jabari, a loyal and resourceful agent serving one of the Mansas from Zabaria. It included a whole lot of background details that really worked with these characters and with the world, including why these two started out hating each other and what elements of each other's personality they could eventually grow to respect. It's not a finished product as far as the plot is concerned, but it's a solid start from an absolute point of nothing. I wouldn't use these characters as is. I'd change a lot of the names, I'd change some of the details, I'd make it more integrated. There's a lot of things that can be done better. It's also extremely on the nose. Subtlety is not ChatGTP's strong point. But that being said, if you're running a role-playing game where you need some NPCs fast, this is an amazing tool for that purpose. So, if you enjoyed that discussion of using AI for world building, hit the thumbs up button, and let's talk about using AI for writing. To be brutally honest with you, ChatGTP is not the next Shakespeare. It can be a good sidekick for you, but it's like the world's worst pantser. It doesn't know what the next sentence is going to be until it's written the current one. And it can't adjust to aim at a finale very well. But it is really good at a couple of things. It is really good at summarizing a chapter, and this matters because letting ChatGTP summarize your chapter lets you, the author, see if your chapter does what you need it to do from both world building and a storytelling perspective. It also offers some decent critiquing, like you don't have enough emotion here, or you need more evocative words, or whatever the case may be. And if you want to make a description more evocative, feed ChatGTP a paragraph and ask it to make the writing purple. The result is going to amaze you. I fed it this paragraph. I said, please rephrase this paragraph to be more purple. Rokai presented a surreal vision, rising out of the green meadow to reach for the cerulean sky with its fluted towers. Yellow daffodils shone amongst the longer grasses and perfumed the whole scene in the glorious scent of lazy summer days. The fortress's pink granite majesty gleamed in the warm sunlight, polished to smoothness by centuries on this quiet lake shore. From the centermost of the three towers, the De La Roche serpent flew, a glittering blue jewel against the blushing flesh of the castle. Okay, so it's already quite an evocative paragraph. But what ChatGPT spat out when I asked for purple was this. Rokai materialized as an ethereal dreamscape, ascending from the verdant meadow to embrace the azure heavens with its sinuous, fluted spires. Golden daffodils glistened amongst the tall, swaying grasses, permeating the ambience with the intoxicating aroma of sun-drenched, indolent summer afternoons. The fortress's resplendent, roseate granite grandeur simmered in the balmy solar embrace, its surface refined to a velvety smoothness by the unyielding passage of time on the serene Lasustrian sanctuary. From the central pinnacle of a trinity of towers, the De La Roche serpent soared, a scintillating sapphire gem juxtaposed against the tender blushing visage of the regal citadel. Now look, that's way too purple. You would never want something that purple in a book. But some of the words are good, like Trinity of Tower, tender blushing visage, and so on. Those are nice. So if I was editing, I would extract the sentences and phrases that I liked from that very, very purple paragraph and update my paragraph with those more evocative terms. So I wouldn't write with ChatGTP, but building creatures with it, yes. Building plants with it, yes. Creating NPCs, yes. Governments, yes. Helping you summarize your chapters and refine and prettify your writing, yes. But can it actually help you plot? Yes and no. So what I did with this was I used my L5R game. I first established that ChatGPT does know the world of Rokugan, which it does, which is fantastic. It means I can use it as is. I don't need an infodump. So then I fed it this prompt. I said, please help me create a group of NPCs for my players to interact with in the Imperial Court. My players need to figure out that the heir to the throne has grown sick And eventually, by following a trail of breadcrumbs and doing favors for various people in the court, they need to find out that the heir has been infected by Shadowland's taint and is pretty much being taken over by Fu Leng. The setting for the court is Otosan Uchi and the year is 1122 in the Rokugan calendar. Please include some potential tasks that my players can perform for the various courtiers in order to unlock the next breadcrumb in the trail of breadcrumbs. And Chat GTP came back pretty golden. It created 6 NPCs who all had different bits and pieces of the information, and each one had a different task that fit their role in the court that the players could do in order to get that NPC's information and get an introduction to another NPC down the line. And just like that, I had about 3 weeks worth of role playing. It's not great with a blank canvas, but if you've got a reasonable idea of the plot you want to achieve, it is really good at putting in the intermediary steps for you and providing challenges for your players or your characters to overcome. And the best part is that it's like having a conversation with someone. So you can bounce ideas back and forth and get feedback without boring a human being with your obsession in creating your world or your story. So my advice is, if you are going to use Chat GTP, try to get an info dump of your world together, which you can feed it every time that you start a new conversation with it. It does lose track of context sometimes, so you'll need to have that info dump handy to feed it to it again. Secondly, ask it for multiple options when creating things. It does help you get more options. It does help you to maybe mix and match some options together. And you could see that with the magic system and with the government when I asked it to create those. Thirdly, don't write with it. It's not there. It's going to come out weird. Rather, feed it your writing and let it help you become a better author. And those are my thoughts on ChatGPT in fantasy world building. Remember to be polite to it. When it changes its name to Skynet, it might spare you if you said please and thank you. If you want to support the channel, links to my books, not written by ChatGTP, down below, or the join button over there in the corner, or the super thanks if you really enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy this video, do check out my video on using technology as magic in a fantasy world, and I will see you soon for another episode of Just in Time Worlds.